We are back, both in our own homes, coming to you live with Player Driven Live. It is April 9th. Colin, man, how's it going, dude?
Good, Greg. I am doing well. I'm just getting back into the groove of working after taking a little over a week off for kids spring break, but I think you were in the same boat as me where your kids are just at home and you're like it's funny as a young adult, you didn't know the idea like why these middle-aged people took all this random time off in the spring. Like why are they not working? What's this spring break thing? As you like grind through and as a person with little kids, you're like, oh, like you can't actually work when your kids are home for a week straight at home. You just have to take the time off of work just to manage it, and then you figure out like what to do as a family for like vacation. It's
To
funny how
think,
that works,
to
right?
think of how different it was. And, back in the day, if you're not in the office, you couldn't even do work, right? So it's so easy to separate and disconnect yourself. And now these days, for better or for worse, you have some feed going on a phone or something going at all times where you
Uh,
can't really disconnect unless you can.
Bro, is this a shot that someone was like, "Hey, can you broadcast from a Starbucks in Hawaii, and we could do a Fortnite take last week?" I'm not naming any names, man,
Yeah,
but
man. When the takes are hot, you got to take those takes. I don't know. That's a lot of words of takes, but it's the life
but
of a content creator.
yeah, no, well, I say like, yeah, I agree. Like you can never fully disconnect, and it's just a weird, modern era thing where it's like, well, you do take time off, but it's like you're maybe only working at like a third of capacity, whereas you normally work at a lot more than that. That's kind of how I see it. You're still unwinding, but not as winding as much as as maybe in the olden times when your work was tied to like physical memos and a rotary phone tied into a wall where if you're not there, you're not there.
We're also not accountants, so we're not doing day to day jobs, or we're working in the video game industry, which is probably what our
Yeah.
hobbies are if we're not at work anyway.
Fair enough, fair enough. Totally, man. Did you I enjoyed spring break and all that with the family?
Yeah, I think we both saw the Mario movie, right? And that's exciting. We had some crappy weather in Florida, so it gave us a lot of times to do things indoors, and we got to go see the movie despite the reviews. And I know you did too, and I think we both have similar opinions, but it was a good time. And let me know, maybe we should tee this up a bit, right? The Mario movie came out with mixed critics' opinions. When you look back at the original Mario movie, it wasn't a masterpiece. It was a movie made for kids. The second movie comes out and has similar, not as great reviews, and people are just piling up on this movie. And during spring break, Colin, we both got an opportunity to take a look at the movie, watch the movie, and you had a whole take on it. So let's hear about your thoughts on the Mario movie.
I mean, I kind of delineate it into two paths. I like when I receive these things with my kids, I say, what did my kids think? And give a judgment on their kind of review, and then what did I think as a person who's been engaging with Mario for my whole life, and so I'll go to my kids first, and so I wonder what your thing is. To me, the judgment of my kids is, do they ask me to get up mid movie to go to the bathroom, and how often do they do so, right? There was a Pixar, I think it was a Pixar movie called Elio, something like that. We saw that in theaters. I swear to God, I went to the bathroom like 10 times in that movie. Like, it was not like my daughter was like, I gotta go to the bathroom, and we go to the bathroom, and I come back, and my son's like, actually, I have to go to the bathroom now. And so I don't think I saw that movie really in its entirety. Now it wasn't loving that movie anyways, personally. I thought it was kind of meh, but like, so did my kids. And so I would give that a low grade. Like, if they go to the bathroom 100 times in a 2 hour window, then that's a bad review for me. Mario, they were glued to their seats, and we suffered through 40 minutes of trailers. Our old local theater closed down, so we're forced to go to AMC. I didn't realize how many commercials they put in AMC trailers. It's like you're there for an hour before the movie starts, watching the Sam Coca-Cola ad on in between trailers. It's like crazy. But whatever. That aside, my kids sat through all that and the Mario movie, and then we left and we never got off our chairs. So to me, that's a plus. They kept my kids engaged. So that's my review for my kids. On me, which is less important, I thought it was fine. I gave it an 8 out of 10. I enjoyed it personally a little bit better than the first movie, mostly because I thought the Bowser Jr. character was a cool character. But I had critiques too. Like, you know, from a plot perspective, which I don't want to get too hung up on it, I just didn't like how they just threw Yoshi in as a comic relief character and not have him at all tied to any plot. It's just there. It's like, oh, Yoshi's here now. That's it. And on we go. And I'm not like looking for deep symbolic meaning to Yoshi, but could he been tied to the larger plot of the movie pretty easily? Yeah. And so that's just like lazy writing in my mind, but whatever. What I didn't enjoy with him specifically, I thought they could do better. I did enjoy with the other characters they added in the movie. The action set pieces were great. And I look at it like this is where I like breaks my brain with the critics is that they hate the movie, and yet those same people gave like Thor, Dark World, and other movies a better review when I effectively look at it as the same. What I mean, like Marvel movies, like not all, but a lot of them are action set pieces with like 2-minute dialogue scenes in between them, right? So you just go from dialogue scene to action set piece that goes like twice as long to dialogue scene. And that's what this movie was. It was like some plot, MacGuffin of sorts, and action set pieces that were pretty to watch in between. So I just look at it as the same as a Marvel movie. It's like, yeah, it's just like functionally the same kind of movie as a superhero Marvel movie, and did fine. Like I'm not saying it's a Thor Ragnarok or a Guardians of the Galaxy level good. No. But is it like any worse than Thor Dark World, Avengers Age of Ultron? No. It's like in that kind of same level. And to me, it's like, yeah, it's a good movie. I enjoyed it. I'm not gonna write about it and say what an amazing time, but it's functionally doing its job. And its target audience is my kids. So part of it's like it's trying to keep the plot simple because it's engaging kids under 10. So that's my general review. And like I'll end on one more bit. I just love your thoughts. The the one medium I think where Sonic is winning against Mario, shout out to Sega, is this. And I say that because my kids are more invested in the Sonic characters, at least my son, than they are into Mario. Like they enjoyed Mario, but they don't really talk about Mario after they see the movie. That's it. We saw it, they liked it, and we go on with their lives. My son is like obsessed with Shadow, like loves Shadow the Hedgehog, wants to see the next Sonic movie. The Sonic trailer for the fourth one was in this, and he's like, "Oh my gosh, I can't wait! I'm excited to see Metal Sonic." And he already knows that the next movie is going to be about Sonic, even though he doesn't play any Sonic games. But he knows the plot because he's excited about the plot of the next Sonic movie. So to me, that's like other bit of it is like he really likes the Sonic movies more than he does these movies. And that might be just a focus group of one kid, but to me, in my household, Sonic movies are a notch above the Mario movies, even though their box office is less. But that I'll leave it there.
I want you to hold that thought because I have a very strong opinion on that statement. But talking strictly about the Mario movie, the first thing I ask myself is, would I watch this movie without my kids? And would I find enjoyment in this movie if my kids weren't here? And the truth is, I think I would have enjoyed that movie without my kids being there. Would I clamor about going to watch it again? Probably not. But the truth, everyone was saying the plot was not there. I mean, there was a very obvious plot and it was pretty decent throughout the whole movie, so I don't understand. And maybe it was a cheap light plot, but it's still a kids movie, but it was a plot. It was very apparent. It wasn't something you had to go searching for. I didn't even think about the Yoshi thing, and the fact is you're 100% right, because I didn't think about the Yoshi thing. Like, he made zero impact on that movie, and it's weird that they get Donald Glover to come voice him and kind of talk about that for a moment, for him to just say Yoshi. And maybe it was just a fun thing that they did it at no cost. I don't know what it is, right? But like, that seemed really, and to your point, a waste. It's probably just more for the broader universe when that comes to be. The Star Fox thing, didn't care about the character of Star Fox. I did like the games growing up, but when they showed the comic sequence, kind of his backstory, that animation style had me thinking very much Sony Pictures and how they did the Miles Morales and thinking if they ever made a Star Fox type of movie, they can change they could change everything about the animation style and create a movie in that style. Because I thought that style was really cool. It was very comic booky, and it's kind of cool how you start thinking, how do we transform this media into more of a, I don't know if you'd call it like anime.
Yeah, it's the Sony Animation Studio, which I think is the best animation studio Definitely. Right now. They have K-pop, they have the Spider-Verse movies, they had that basketball movie, which I haven't seen yet, but everyone liked. They have like a visual style that is them. And
awesome.
And it's
I,
basically like I love how they bounce between art styles. It's not
yeah.
anchored in one thing. It kind of goes and flows between multiple art styles.
In my
That's
mind, it's
cool.
like showing advancement, right? I know it's not technology related because it's just art, but it's just showing the creative medium in that style. And Star Fox it showed that to me, like, wow, this could be super cool. But going back to your statement about two things, right? About Sega versus Nintendo on this medium, on this front. I'm wondering if Illumination, who owns the rights to the Mario movies, is going to end up holding back Mario in a way because of the level of quality of movies that they're putting out. And I don't necessarily mean that in a bad way, but it's never like that A. I feel like Illumination saves their A quality for like Shrek every 50 years when they do a Shrek movie. And it's just very mediocre movies. And I think this is above mediocre. And that's my one thought. The other thought, to your point, is your kids know Sonic more than Mario. Weeks and weeks ago, when we were talking, we talked about who's the future mascot of Nintendo, right? And it's everyone's thinking Mario, but I truly think Pikachu and Pokemon can be the ones that take over what
Uh,
Mario represents. Because when you look at kids, they're much more into Pokemon, I think, than your general Mario characters. Not
oh,
everyone, but most kids I think are. But most kids I also think are going towards that Sonic route because Sonic is doing it cooler. And I think you got to tap into who are the characters that the younger generations are connecting more with. And I do think right now it's Pokemon. I think maybe they're trying to change that perception, but that's just where my mind is.
yeah. Well, it's interesting because the through line with all that, I don't disagree. Like merchandise wise, Pokemon does laps around Mario. Like Pokemon sold more merchandise worldwide than any IP ever, and it's only 30 or 25 or 30 years old, right? So unassailable, Pokemon is king on that front. And I would say yes, kids care more about Pokemon, but they don't. There's not a lot of there's not a lot of deep characters with like characterization with Pokemon. At least I'm not as in deep on the lower side, so I could actually be totally wrong there. I actually just finished playing Pokemon Pocopia, the storyline, and I was like, man, this is a very deep and meaningful story relative to any other Pokemon game I've ever played, with the story of the Pokemon and like why they're left on Earth alone, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So um, maybe that's always been embedded in the Pokemon lore. I don't know. But yeah, it's an interesting thought. I've always looked at Mario as the Mickey Mouse of gaming, and I think that's even true in your framing there, which is like, do people care a lot about Mickey Mouse, or are they just comfortable when Mickey Mouse is around? I think it's more the latter. Like people don't really care to see Mickey Mouse in a bunch of stuff. They just like the idea of Mickey Mouse, kind of as a mascot more than anything. Interesting. I think not to ding on Illumination, but like none of them, to me, and this comes maybe why the criticisms of the Mario movie is like, I just think Illumination movies are perceived to be the lowest bar. Like whether they're making the Minion movies and Despicable Me, they're very just pop music, joke by joke kind of thing. They make a lot of money, but critics never kind of go, oh, what a great thing. And maybe Mario kind of fits in that, where it's just like they perceive it to be just kind of the lowest form of animated entertainment relative to like Pixar movies, which are held up as like, oh, look at this deep meaning story and really speaks to the adults and kids and blah blah blah. But again, like I'm of the mind that not all movies need to do that. It's fine. Like some movies could just be entertainment for entertainment's sake. I'm not looking for everything to be like a reflection of what a teenager needs to go through growing up in like San Francisco, like the Inside Out movies. Like I'm good. Like sometimes a movie could just be mindless entertainment and then just like popcorn, like just
After
there for the
crapping
popcorn.
on Elio for 10 minutes.
Oh my
No.
god, that movie. I mean, that movie just is bad. But whatever. Again,
All
I
right.
digress.
Any other
I
any
digress.
other
But like I know, but yeah, I think like I think you're not wrong, and I think that ultimately, for me, Mario will probably be a character in a larger universe, but will he be the most popular character in Nintendo universe? I actually have a different take. I think it'll actually be Zelda. When Sony makes the movie, I think Zelda inherently just has more story behind it, and I think Zelda and Link and the characters from that movie will probably resonate more with kids than say the Mario movies. That'd be my read,
mm,
right? And
hard
then
hard bet against that.
my last, and Bowser Jr. to me was the best part of the Mario movie. Like the Bowser, someone made a guy. I saw this take and I online. And I was like, yeah, that makes sense. Like I want more Bowser and Bowser Jr. movies than I do anything else. Like, oh, that's great. I would love to see those two in a movie. Because the rapport between Jack Black and I forget who played Bowser Jr., but it was
Mhm.
great. It's like a lot of fun.
I
That was
think,
the best part of the movie.
yeah, I agree, and I think there's another scene when he first got that little painting wand. Again, the visuals, right? They did something
Oh,
unique with the style, the animation, right? And I think that was maybe that's Illumination's step into, hey, we're gonna start going after Sony's level of animation. We can do this too, and maybe that's their first stab at it, right? And it's an
mhm.
interesting look. But let's
Um, let's move on, Greg. Let's move on. I spent my newsletter that'll come out tomorrow at some point, looking at May. So in normal fashion, we're in the new quarter. I should probably talk about the biggest games this quarter. And ironically, in like gaming industry fashion, they all basically launch in the same week. So there's 3 games. It's Forza Horizon 6, I think maybe within a week or week and a half window. So Forza Horizon 6, which I think comes out in its last game comes out on May 18th. And then leading up into that, you have Lego Batman, Legacy of the Dark Knight, which releases on the
I got the dates
uh
here for you.
yeah, we rattle off the dates.
All right, here we
I
go. We
think
got first 8 days. We got 3 AAA titles. May 19th is Forza Horizon 6. May 22nd is Lego Batman. And May 27th is Bond. So let us hear
it's a
your
lot.
take. Yeah, tight window, good games, AAA fever here. Which is going to win? What is your takes?
Oh, I mean, it's not even close. Like Forza Horizon 6 is gonna crush all of them. And this is like one of those release window points that I like to just hammer on again and again. So taking a step back, originally, the only game that was gonna come out in this window, like this was GTA's window. So let's be clear. I think no game would have come out in this window had GTA 6 actually said it was going to launch in May and came out in May. I think all 3 of these games would have moved their game out of May. So um now that said, when it became clear that GTA 6 wasn't coming out, I think Lego Batman, when they announced their release date at the first part of the year, was the first one to claim that spot. And I thought they had a really good Gamescom reveal last year, really popped off. And I would say it was tracking near the range of their previous release, which was Lego Star Wars: The Complete Skywalker Saga, which was a COVID level game. Since that time, though, as these other games have come into the release window, and I'll talk about the other 2 in a second, its tracking is 40% of where Lego Star Wars was at the same time, which to me is not a good thing for TT and Warner Brother Gaming. But I have a lot of thoughts on that. I'm just going to hammer that a lot of points, but I'll jump to the other 2 first because I think there's a more positive story. So maybe we start there. Your favorite company in the world, Xbox. They have a huge hit. In like to me, which is Forza Horizon 6, and that game is only trailing Forza Horizon 5 by like 15 basic points right now. So you hear that and go, "Oh, they're still underperforming Horizon 5." Yeah, but like there's 2 reasons why I'm like dismissive to that. One, Horizon 5 came out in COVID, came out in 2021. So I just think everything was inflated in that time, including Horizon 5. And so the fact that Horizon 6 is coming out in a more competitive window now with less people at home, et cetera, and it's only slightly trailing behind Horizon 5, I think is a net win for the game makers and Xbox. So tip of the cap. And like there's 40 million players of Horizon 5 between Game Pass and people who bought the game. And Horizon 6 will probably be on PlayStation much faster than Horizon 5. So they'll reach a larger audience. So to me, huge. It'll easily be the winner of this quarter. And maybe we'll pause there. What are your thoughts on Horizon? I know we've talked a little bit about it before, but yeah, this game is the biggest game of Q2. Not even close.
Horizon always, I don't know the fandom of racing games until a racing game comes out and you see everyone kind of rear their head. Racing is such a big fandom, and Forza has such a big hold on that. I remember growing up in the Gran Turismo days, right? That was the game I wanted to play. Then all of a sudden, Forza Motorsport came out. You're like, oh, wow, I like this, but I hate realistic driving. Then Horizon comes out and opens up the world kind of to arcade racers. I think it's weird that you say it's tracking lower, but that's not bad news. That makes sense how you frame that. My worry is that it's also set in Japan, which excited people. So you think you would see a spike because of that.
No,
So
you definitely do.
right? Yeah, I think there's a lot, and the fact that it's coming out this year on PS5, right? They didn't announce when, but it's going to do, and They'll nail it. I mean, they have UGC and content built into it now, so people can create stuff. All these community tools will help create engagement. And these same tools, these diehard racing fans are going to do some crazy things with cars, creating some addition. I think they'll build something good. They'll build something that lasts. I think it'll stay in that racing niche. I don't think it's going to expand past its normal audience, but I think it's going to be one of those under the radar hits that is like really crushing. Well, I think I read when for Horizon 5 came out, it was technically the game of the year, but it just didn't win because it was a racing game. Like it was the only one that outsold every other game.
That's exactly right. Racing games aren't niche. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe on the Switch is the number one selling game on that platform. It sold like 76 million copies. Not in the, it's there's no second place that's even close to that, right? Everyone always bemoans like, why is our 3D Mario game on the Switch too? Well, the 3D Mario Odyssey in its entire lifetime on the Switch sold like a little less than 30 million copies, I think, or in around there. Nowhere near half, less than half of where Mario Kart sold. So everyone that says 3D Mario is the system mover, this is not true. Like the system mover is a racing kart game,
But
right?
that's not completely fair, though, is it? Because like you had one launch game, like. No one's buying a Switch 2 and being like, "Yeah, here's my Mario Kart 7."
I'm pointing to the last generation of Mario Kart games. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe came out after the Switch 2 was out by like a year, and Mario Odyssey came out with the Switch 2 launch, and yet Mario Kart 8 Deluxe outsold the Mario Odyssey by double. So that was an entire generation, right? So not niche, actually more popular than the 3D Mario platformer or the Zelda title, for that matter. I just think the gaming journalist community just likes the mainline games as opposed to what the mass audience prefers, which is Mario doing something else, right? I always call those Mario doing something else games, right? Jumping into this one, like, yeah, Mario Kart is the launch title, but I think it's a system mover. Like everyone's like, oh, Mario Kart World, what a lesser game, not a system mover, even though it sold like 14 million copies. And I stand by my take. In due time, in 3 years' time, it's gonna be the number one game coming out from 2025 and won't even be close. Like we'll look back at lifetime sales and be like, oh yeah, it's Mario Kart World and everything else. And yeah, people kind of dismiss it. Going to Forza Horizon 5, you're right. Having 40 million players is a lot of players. I don't know what else came out that particular year offhand, but like in retrospect, it's probably one of the largest titles that year for sure in terms of lifetime players and sales. And yet we treat it as a niche game. It's not niche. If all the audiences want to play an open world arcade racing game, then that's what audiences want to play. It's not as cool as shooter, right? It doesn't make as much clickbait headlines on an IGN homepage, but to me it's more popular just by what people do. Revealed or stated preference versus revealed preference. Revealed preference says that everyone likes to play Horizon, right? Mm-hmm. Stated preference says, oh, but I really like my artsy Elden Ring and like all these, which they do, but they like racing games more, right? And so Horizon 6, I think, to that point, it's easily gonna be the largest game, and people are like, "Oh, what a shock! This racing game is the largest game coming out of this quarter." And to me, it's like, no, it should be. It's a really popular franchise, and it goes to the PlayStation side and like the GT side, which is like that franchise historically still sits on the more realistic side, but the audiences prefer the more arcade open world side. You have Mario Kart being the cartoony family version of that, and then you have Horizon being the other side of that spectrum, and a bunch of other stuff in between that. And you have the realistic stuff on the other end of the spectrum, and they just sell substantially less than these guys over here, right? Because that's where the audience is. Add GTA Online and people using it as a car racing sim game, which a lot of people do, as another one in that kind of vein. Like I just think there's a lot more opportunity. And so Forza Horizon 6 reportedly is a lot bigger than 5, a lot more urban. They spent a lot of time really recreating Tokyo and Japan. I think it'll be wildly popular. I bet on a huge uptick in demand once it's out, because I just believe it'll be a good game, and everything they've shown in our data set suggests that the audiences generally agree. And yeah, I think it'll be a dominant hit in the spring of this year. So and it will take away attention from everything else, which leads me to Bond. I said earlier this year that this was a big hit, but that's when its release date was the end of March, which had they released now, which would have been like last week, I think they would have dominated. Like, I think they'd have been the only game. I mean, yeah, Crimson Desert is still holding a lot of interest from players, and that would have continued. And Pocopia is doing very well too. And both those games came out earlier, but like they're far enough removed from their releases if they come out this week or last week, where they would have had owned the next month in terms of single player games. And there's no other major game playing demand share away from them outside of, say, Crimson Desert. Let's just say Crimson Desert would have probably hurt Bond if it come out now, but beyond that, like there's not a lot of competition, and there's not a lot of competition going in April either, right? There's like not a lot, right? And sorry, Pragmata and Saros, like they're going to be fine games, but Bond would have dominated them. But they moved the release date back into this shark tank of a window where they're not only competing against Forza, they're competing against Forza, and now their demand share is deflated. Where we've looked at our cumulative mind share score, which is always reflective of negative 30 weeks from launch. So it basically forced us to move the release window back. They lost a little bit of demand share, and when you look at where it's at now, it's actually less than what it would have been had they released their where we tracked it in January. It's entirely because Forza's eating up that attention share. Like they're competing with Forza, and Forza is going to win, and they're going to see less players, less sales on 007 First Light because they're going up against the gorilla of the quarter, the S tier game or A tier game of this quarter, which is going to be Horizon 6. And that's always been our thesis at my game. It's all zero sum, attention's attention, and Bond is going to lose audience to Forza. And and so is Lego Batman, to be quite honest. But I think their problem's a little bit unique to them. But like for First Light, they're suffering because they're going right up against Forza.
What do you do if you're IO Interactive? Then do you move the launch date? Because your point, this game lost a lot of steam, but it really didn't do anything wrong other than the window, right? Like that was it. I think what happened, and if you can turn back time, I mean, at this point, I don't know if it's just changing the date to fix it, right? It's how do we get people excited about
I think they probably need more time to put polish on the game, to be fair to them. They saw that GTA moved out of May and they tried to take that May slot, and then they didn't know that Forza was going to come on top of them. But this is like why release planning is so important. And I probably, it's all a little bit of hindsight for them. Like we didn't know that Forza was going to be there, and then when they did, they just took up all our attention share. But that's basically what happened. And I would either try to push out our release date a little bit more and be like, why don't we just release the game in the first week in June or like something like that and move it to June? By the way, nothing is coming out in June. June's a totally open month for the gaming industry right now. There's no major title in our radar right now that's going to kind of come out in June, and they would have dominated that month if they had done that. Or, so because there's nothing coming out in June, at least major AAA title, it's likely going to be filled by some indie game that'll pop off and be the darling of that month, which is generally what happens on that one. But like they could have moved their game to June or just come out in April. So like I just think this is a lesson of like why release windows are so important, because they will at least impede initial launch first week sales in players. Now, whether they can recapture that downstream is a good question. If the game is good, maybe. We saw that with Ghost of Yote, right? They started off slow in terms of sales, but then PlayStation's a platform owner. They caught up to themselves over the holidays and kind of mitigated some of those initial sales shock downstream into the holidays. But IO Interactive doesn't own the device, so they're kind of held to the fire by the platform owners, Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo, and Steam. So, and I don't even know if it's coming out on Steam at launch, but like, yeah. So it is. I wish them the best, but I think they're just going to have a little bit more of a deflated launch. Now, the plus side, the positive spin on this, Greg, is in terms of action adventure titles, which is how we would classify Bond. It is actually going to perform in the upper 10 percentile of games of that genre since 2023. So I just basically cut off all COVID titles saying they're unique. Let's just cut them off. Looking at 2023 and beyond, how does it stack up? It's trending almost exactly at the same point in time as what Jedi Survivor was when it came out. So, that game did less than its predecessor, Fallen Order. Okay, but did okay, right? And this game is like really neck and neck at the same point in time as Jedi Survivor. Whether IO can hit the same numbers as Jedi Survivor remains to be seen. They're not as deep pocketed as EA on marketing, and they don't. Bond is not the same strong IP as Star Wars, and Jedi Survivor was coming off as the sequel to a really successful and well reviewed Fallen Order game. So I'm not saying that this game will do the same, but at least at the same point in time, they're almost on top of each other. And my suggestion, IO, is just you got to market the heck out of this game, especially if it's good. In my personal opinion, the trailer looked good. I was like, yeah, this looks like a fun, good game. It's feeling that Uncharted meets Hitman itch that I don't think the market has served very well in recent years. So to me, it's like, oh yeah, I would totally play this Bond game just for the story and to have an Uncharted like game because again, we haven't had an Uncharted game in forever, and this feels like an Uncharted game.
I feel like they would benefit from a demo. I think part of it being a Hitman game, I love the idea of Bond being Hitman in a way because it makes perfect sense. But I have also kind of, for some reason, I tell myself I don't like Hitman style games because I don't like snaking games. So I think I would benefit from someone like me who's a big Bonds fan of having a free trial or something like that where I could try it out, see what I like. Again, the even though it's not a live ops type of game, that same sort of community beta, test it out, see what you like, what you don't like, or just a free trial, play it out, and I think that would help. I also think the intangible here we don't think about is I think Amazon can come in and help this game. I think, what's Amazon got up their sleeve with Bond to the next movie? They're talking about rebooting it, right? That's been the rumors of all this time. And how do you time this up? And I think, if Amazon played their cards, if they care even, right? It just might be a blip on the radar for them, right? Like they can probably do something here to tie movie and game together to spark excitement about the wider Bond.
They should care. It's the first iteration of Bond since Daniel Craig. There's been no Bond, and then like I don't know how long it's been, but it's been a while since Daniel Craig's made a Bond movie, right? So this is the first iteration of Bond. While they aren't publishing the game through Amazon Games Studios, they are, I think, credited as a partner, and they should lean in and market the heck out of this game. I actually completely agree. Amazon should work with IO to put this game out there. If it's good, I mean, they'll know it. They know if it's good or not. I'm sure they've done user testing. They've definitely probably done their mock review scores, etc. So they know if the game is gonna be well received or not already. And if they think it's a good game with a good story, to me, that's the key thing for me in this game. Gameplay, that's fine, but if the story is good and they have a interesting take on Bond, I will play this Bond game. And I always classify Bond as a boomer franchise, like the same as Indiana Jones and Star Wars. Sorry, Star Wars and Star Wars outside of the animation and stuff has always reinvented itself as a slightly worse property in my mind. Like the OG Star Wars original trilogy is the best. The prequels, did not like them at the time, but man, they look a lot better than the sequels. So that's kind of like yeah, it's time has been kind to the prequels because of other stuff, and Star Wars has gotten progressively worse. And Indiana Jones never recast Harrison Ford. Even in the game, they just try to find someone to look and sound like Harrison Ford, which I think has been a massive mistake for that franchise. And then Bond has always rebranded itself, and that's like the magic of that franchise. Bond is never the same Bond. There's eras of Bond, right? So video game Bond could be an evolution of that same notion where Bond could be a new kind of character for a new generation. The premise that he's a spy that works for MI6. That's it. And he does stuff, right? Or she. It doesn't matter. But that's the premise of Bond. And I think that makes it so you can make a Bond story that's unique to multiple generations. That's also unique to multiple mediums. So that's what gets me excited about this game. So they'll be the second place game, by the way. They'll be the second place out of 3. So Forza by far running away with the whole thing. Second place will be Bond. Third place, Lego Batman.
Oh, you think third?
No. Oh, I know third. Yeah, makes you look, man. I have the Lego Batwing hanging in my wall behind me, so you can zoom in on that. I'm looking at my Lego Batman Gotham City skyline above my head. So it pains me as someone who loves and adores TT, who has been played that franchise the most this new year because my son's involved, loves Lego Star Wars. Yeah, it's third place, and I just put this on the feet of the ownership problem. This is Warner Brothers passing like a never-ending hot potato between like they went from Team Time Warner and then 2018 got sold into AT&T, who didn't know anything about gaming, who hot potatoed that to Discovery, who also doesn't know anything about gaming, and the guy who created Shark Week is their CEO. I'm going to go on a limb and say David Zaslav doesn't know anything about gaming and doesn't care either, and now they're going to hot potato it over to Paramount. So this poor gaming studio and publisher has just been a victim of just a sea of ownership changes, which oftentimes comes from budget cuts and consult and layoffs, and like it's just been uneasy for them, which is like why we've not seen a good like consistent lineup. Like TT used to pump out tons of Lego content. They've just essentially stopped, and they've come out with one game in almost the last 10 years, and that's Lego Star Wars: The Complete Skywalker Saga, and this is the second game. And they used to just do multiple games a year, like at a more regular tick, and they just stopped. And you have Rocksteady, who put out a awful Suicide game, and a game that like I as a fan, like no one, people want a Justice League game. They're like, you know what, we'll give you that Justice League game where you kill them. You're like, no, I want to be the Justice League. I don't want to kill the Justice League. Bring Batman over from the Arkham games and make like follow the animated series. Like I love Batman the animated series. What they did was they just went from animated series to Superman to Justice League to Justice League Unlimited, and they had also Batman Beyond in that too. Like outstanding like animated universe, and just give us Justice League. I want to fight Darkseid or Brainiac or who pick your poison on the villain. And they gave us a game where we just had Brainiac as a villain, but we had to go kill the Justice League first, which was dumb premise, and they tried to turn it into a live service game. Um, as if they didn't watch the Avengers game from Square Enix just fall on its face. And like nobody wants this stuff.
It
And
was a good game that had just the gameplay was wonderful, the loop was
for
fun, the story and everything around it was shit, but it had the bones.
you're saying about Justice League or the Suicide?
Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, I thought played fantastically. I thought it felt fantastic. I thought it was a very satisfying game with the terrible live ops experience and forcing a square peg through a round hole.
Yeah. I I think it was an awful experience. It makes me sad that we didn't get a great narrative game from them, and now they've had layoffs. And I just think like this all is downstream from Warner Brother Gaming being adrift, not because they are run by people that are adrift themselves. It's more that they are constantly in a scene of ownership change. That has put them in this predicament. So Lego Star Wars, or sorry, Lego Batman came out hot. It was trailing just below Lego Skywalker Saga, Lego Star Wars The Skywalker Saga, and now it's trading or trending at like 40% the same volume at Lego Star Wars was at the same point. So to me, it's going to be a substantial financial disappointment relative to Lego Star Wars, which I presume is going to be their comp, and part of that's release window. And what I would do if I were them in this game, they should release it in June. That's what I would do. And put more marketing efforts behind it and be a little bit more synergistic with everything. I just don't see anything. My kids don't see anything pushing this game. And that makes me bummed. There's an entire line of Legos toys that came out with little to no fanfare at the Lego store. And it's basically taking all the Batmobiles from that you play in this game. This game is a love letter to Batman. You play as all Batman. You play as the Christian Bale Batman. You play as '89 Batman. You play as the new Batman, right, from the Batman, and then you play as Justice League Batman, Ben Affleck, Batfleck, right, and each one has their own Batmobile, and they have that line out in toys, and it's like I just feel like this game could be more. And I think it'll probably be a really great game because I like TT games. I think they make a good game design for kids, and it just bums me that doesn't have the rocket feel behind it. But again, I don't want to put it on them. I just put it on the ownership triage is just continually happening. And I go back to my take that I would say, please, can the Lego Group buy TT? Please, just go save this beloved studio. Stop wasting your time with Lego Fortnite or trying to make your own games through other partners, which none of them are good and nobody cares about any of them. Just go buy TT from Warner Brothers, bring them in house at Lego Group, and make Lego games that are great again. And maybe part of that deal gets you access to the Warner Brothers license, so you can make more Lego Harry Potter games. You can make more Lego Batman games. Just make Lego games, Lego Group, and buy TT. That's my take. Like, just save this poor studio who is just trapped in this never-ending hot potato of ownership. And even Paramount, Netflix and Paramount were both like, yeah, we get a gaming studio too, and this like ownership change. Like, so they're gonna get like, and they're gonna like, they're buying this. Paramount's buying this company for what, like a 90 billion, some insane amount of money, all in debt. Like, so the gaming side is probably gonna see more cuts, because they're buying a bunch of assets that they can't afford, leveraging debt. This can require cuts, and they're gonna cut a lot of the gaming studio, which is gonna just be a good like a a continuation of this negative flywheel loop that they're in, and that bums me out as someone who likes to see great games from Warner Brothers.
Well, speaking specifically to Lego Batman, I hope you're wrong. I feel like there's a strategy here of launching right before school lets out for the summer, where you get a few weeks to kind of work out those bugs, download that game, so your parents can be done with Forza and First Light, and then summer comes around, and I'm just gonna play my Lego Batman for the summer. That's what my dream is, and I hope it is because my kid loves it. He picks it up so well. To your point, the game design, I think it's all done fantastically, and I hope they aren't a victim of greed.
Yeah, my understanding, yeah, it's a Switch 2 exclusive, so it won't be on the Switch. I would feel a lot better if it was on the Switch and Switch 2, and it's not. At least to my understanding, look it up and keep me honest, but our taxonomy says it's not. So to me, the upside of this game is that there's no major new game coming out on the Switch, at least as announced as of today, at least by June. So this game is effectively the new game on the Switch platform, at least the Switch 2 platform. So it'll probably see a lot of purchases on the Switch, because I suspect the Lego games do very well on the Switch and the Switch platform. But if it's not actually coming out on the Switch and only on Switch 2, then their TAM is limited by the amount of Switch 2s in market, which might be like what, 19, 20 million Switch 2s worldwide at that point.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, man. So its upside is limited by its platform distribution, because I don't know if it's going to be a gangbuster seller on PlayStation 5 or Xbox, because everyone on Xbox will be playing Forza. They're going to push Forza, which really leaves PlayStation, and there it's competing with Bond, right? It's competing with that machine with Bond. So,
well, let's talk Lego games, right? All my data is courtesy of Claude, and it's genius. But can you take a guess? Top 5 selling Lego games of all time.
oh man, God, I'm gonna guess. I don't know the game titles. I'm gonna guess the game franchises.
Sure.
And if there's more than one, tell me there's more than one. I like Lego Star Wars and Lego Harry Potter are like be like 1 and 2. Like I bet there have been a lot of lifetime sales to one or both or multiple titles in those franchises, or both those or multiple games in those
Star Wars
franchises.
has 3 on there.
Yeah.
Harry Potter has 0 on there.
Oh, really? Harry Potter 0. That's interesting. Yeah, that makes sense on the Lego Star Wars. So Lego Star Wars has 3. Okay, then I would say Lego D's Batman, the first one would be my guess in terms of the top
Yep.
seller on that list.
That's number
And then,
2. That's Lego Batman, the video game, 2008 with
yeah,
13.6 million copies.
yeah, that makes sense.
That's
And my
the
last
best-selling
guess,
superhero video game. That's what this says is the best-selling superhero video game, meaning any
uh,
superhero video game.
that's a really good game, and that's like when I've made the argument that people said, "Oh, this Lego Batman game is a love letter to Arkham." I'm like, I'm sorry, Lego Batman exists before Arkham exists. Like this is just a love letter to Lego Batman, and you misunderstand the generation. People who grew up playing Lego Batman are now in their 20s. This is a nostalgia play for them to play Lego Batman again. That's what this is. They made a Lego Batman movie. Like I mean, Lego Batman voiced by Will Arnett. Like Lego Batman is so core to what saved the Lego group. Like I always say, this is well written. There's a great documentary and book like Brick by Brick, I think it's the name of it, right? Where they talk about what saved the Lego group, because they were going bankrupt in the early 2000s. 3 franchises, 3 IP: Star Wars, Harry Potter, Batman. That's who saved Lego. They leaned into licensing, which let them to bootstrap their own IP, which became Ninjago and Bionic, etc. But it's and City, the Lego line City. But like that started with Lego Batman, Lego Star Wars, and Lego Harry Potter. Anyways, my guess on the other games, so if there's 3 Star Wars and the 1 Lego Batman, I'm going to guess Lego Marvel, the first one, but I could be wrong there. That'd be my last guess, Lego Marvel game.
Well, the number 1 was the complete saga, Star Wars. The only other IP on there that you didn't name, which I'm doubting, so I'm now going to question everything that Anthropic has ever told me, is Lego Indiana Jones in 2008.
Oh, okay. Maybe. That's my tepid response. Maybe. I could see it. I could also not. I wouldn't have guessed that, but I also know that there was a time and era that Lego Indiana Jones was big. It was well reviewed, so maybe. But okay. I'm shocked that outsold Lego Harry Potter. That would be my
Yeah, I'm gonna question everything now, and then we got
Star Wars games for sure. For sure.
one more game to
Lego
talk about, right? I guess we don't have to be done with that. I cut you off there.
Oh no! I was gonna say Lego Star Wars is like the top selling Lego line. So the fact they have 3 games on there makes complete sense to me. It's always the number one selling line of Lego. It's why they have the most expensive piece per price per brick. I think it really nerdy, but like people in the Lego community judge sets by price per brick, and they have the most highest price point because I'm sure the licensing fee is the most, and they can get away charging the most because people will buy the most of those sets. So,
You also
anyways,
haven't seen a Lego game for what now? Like 6
and
years, 5
And my
years?
son plays the heck out of the Lego Star Wars. He loves fighting the General Grievous fight. He loves fighting the Count Dooku fight. He loves fighting the Darth Maul fight. He likes the pod racing level. He loves Lego Star Wars. So,
My son
um,
never got into the Star Wars ones, and he likes the superheroes ones. He likes the Batman one, but tried to play the Star Wars one. He just couldn't dig it.
there you are. All right, let's jump to the last one. I think just talk about the Switch and the lack of exclusives. I I promise everyone I'm not going to talk about Pocopia, but I inherently am a little bit. So here I go. Tomodachi Life is the second largest game coming out this quarter. And Tomodachi Life colon Living the Dream is almost a me-like simulation game, but it's exclusive to the Switch, which I think is the most interesting point. So its cumulative mindshare score is pretty high in our tool. It's already a top 100 search game, and it's not even out for another couple of weeks. And it's going to be wildly successful, especially in Japan, but also in the US and Western Europe. And what is this game doing? To me, that's interesting from a strategy standpoint, Greg. It's coexisting on a platform that they're deprecating. Maybe not. A lot of people are like, oh, console sales are dying, the console's dying. And my argument is like, what about the Switch? I think the Switch is doing just fine, and the Switch too. And whether this is a happy accident right now, this game is a Switch exclusive as a cozy sim game, which paired with the exclusive on the Switch 2, which is the Pokemon Pokopia, you're basically having 2 cozy sim games coming out within a couple months of each other from Nintendo, except one is exclusive to the Switch and one is exclusive to the Switch 2. So you're servicing 2 audiences. Obviously, the Switch audience is much bigger because there's more Switch devices in the world. Is this something we'll see from Nintendo moving forward? I don't know. But if you think hardware is going to be increasing in price, I've always thought in the back of my mind, does it make sense for Nintendo to support the Switch longer to because they're selling software at the end of the day. The whole point of Nintendo is not to sell hardware, it's to sell software. And why leave behind the 150 million units or whatever the number is that you have out in the universe right now when that is a massive audience in TAM, and maybe you treat it almost as a low end iPhone, high end iPhone, and you continue to support certain games, new titles on the Switch while you try to move people over the Switch too, but you're not going to cut the Switch off completely either. And some people might say, don't do that. You're supporting 2 devices. You're confusing the market. But if hardware is going to jump up another $100 on the Switch price side, because they have no choice, then maybe that's a really solid strategy. I don't know. What are your thoughts, Greg? And maybe I'm overreading Tomodachi Life.
Well, I think, it comes to a couple of things. And I don't know much about Tomodachi Life, and I know enough about Pocopia, but I've been reading more about studios wanting to reuse assets, right? There's no reason you shouldn't reuse assets to make sequels to games or other types of games, right? And the truth is, they're not that different of games, these 2 games. And if you know what your audience is, right, and hey, with Tomodachi Life, we're aiming for younger kids who most likely don't have a Switch 2 yet, but we already have all these assets that we're creating for Pocopia. Why don't we take a lesser studio who can create a game from this and make X amount, and we know our audience in China or Japan, wherever, is going to be this big, right? Why not retake some of these assets? And to your point, whether they're reusing assets or not, right? Just understanding who's playing your game where and how much it costs to make the game. And Tomodachi Life seems like they're going to hit a niche with those casual players that want to just create these cozy sims that let you build what you want with your friends and do all this stuff. And if they can make it on the cheap in an area on a platform that everyone already has, why are you going to make a Switch 2 version of it when you know it lowers that audience? It's a genius play, right? It really is, and I think they're marketing it really well. Both have their own lives. I mean, we saw the PlayStation 2 create games for like 15 years after it was born, and there were still people playing it, right? So there is value in keeping the hardware around. It's just how much does it cost to keep the hardware operational? And for the Switch, you still got time because it's still fairly new in the grand scheme of things.
Right. And you don't want to leave behind a massive install base. That's like basically what it boils down to. If your business is selling software, then and you have 100 million plus units worldwide, right? Then what are you doing just lighting that on fire on a platform with an install base that, might be around 19, 20 million by the end of this quarter or early next quarter, right? Which is still pacing ahead of everything else. So you're finding a lot of fast conversion, like everything else relative to this point in time and adopting a new platform. But you're still looking at a new platform on top of the fact that reportedly they're going to say, oh, they got to raise prices, like whether they do or not. Like, you saw the PlayStation raise their prices. The new Xbox reportedly is going to be over $1,000, renting an era of really, really pricey consoles. And which is funny. Everyone like knocked the Switch for being too expensive. Never mind the fact that the next generation of hardware from Xbox and PlayStation will probably be wildly expensive. And I don't know, man. Seems like
They're
Nintendo's
saying it
cheap and
will
affordable
be. I
option.
mean,
Cheap
who
and affordable
knows?
option is Nintendo, and they're portable and they're not anchored in a TV. Like I define it as anchored consoles that are anchored based, like anchored into a TV set. That PlayStation has a relative monopoly there now. And Nintendo is the pick up as you go. And to me, it's nice that I can anchor it into a TV set, but the main value driver is I could play on the go along with my Steam Deck. And so I bounce between those two devices as my primary gaming device right now, as I play PC games on my Steam Deck and I play Nintendo games and certain types of titles on my Switch, now Switch 2, right? I don't know. So don't leave it behind.
I don't foresee you having two handhelds for long. So the question is, which way will the future pull you towards?
To the Switch or Switch 2?
No,
Oh,
to Switch or to a handheld PC?
Oh, both. I live in both worlds. It's easy. I pick up the one I'm going to play my game on, and I will play. I'll play Crimson Desert or another core game on my Steam Deck, and then I will play my Pocopia and Mario and other kind of kid friendly titles on my Switch too. Right. The difference between that and my Steam Deck is there's a world in which I buy my household 3 Switches, one for me, one for my daughter, one for my son. I will only own one Steam Deck for me. That's it, right? So that's the difference. Is how many of them will fit in our household? How many multi-device owners will there be? And I think for the Switch, you're just naturally going to gravitate toward multiple devices in the household because everyone's going to want their own Switch. Like some people might switch the SSD card out of it. Okay, that's not. I mean, other people will also just buy multiple Switches for multiple people, right? And buy the SSD cards. And I will actually
Nintendo. Ooh, sorry,
was
my computer went to sleep. You become much more of a Nintendo fanboy week after week. Not that
I'm not a Nintendo
I think if
fanboy.
we went back to like November to today, you'd see.
I like their business model. I like their
Yeah.
business model.
I'm with you.
Their business model is really good. I play more games on Steam Deck because I play, Clay Obscure on my Steam Deck, right? I play Dispatch on my Steam Deck, for example. But I'll play Grand Theft Auto 6 on my PlayStation Portal because I'll buy a Portal just to play Grand Theft Auto 6 on my Portal. To me, it's more about portability. I find I am gravitating toward gaming devices personally that are more portable, which I've always felt is the next generation of hardware, and the gaming industry is just starting to wrap its head around that. It's like I think the main value driver for me is portability. I could take my Switch with me, or I could plug it into my TV. I could take my Steam Deck with me, or I could plug it into my TV for a weird experience, but you can, right? Or I could play on my PC, right? So it's a cloud cross save. I don't have a way to do that with PlayStation right now unless I own a Portal, which is tethered to my house. And so I just think PlayStation and Xbox with its, trying to break in this market too. I just think portability and cloud and cross saving on multiple devices is the next iteration of gaming. I don't think gamers want a more HD machine. I think they want access to games on devices that can run them.
So if you ran a marketing campaign like this is an Xbox, would you like something like that, or would you not like something like that?
Oh, that's a terrible
Come on, man!
campaign.
But that's your whole point: is you want to be able to play on more devices. You want to be able to have this device that you can play your game.
Devices that could play my game. They came out with that, and they have no handheld. on the market yet, and that campaign started how long ago? 2 years ago now.
But I think the strategy of being the streamer, the streaming platform is where it pays off, right? And whatever, we could this is a whole nother week, right? I think you're right. I want a handheld now, right? I'm looking into which one makes the most sense for me, and the next step from that would be cloud gaming on top of that. How
Yeah,
can I
well
get
then the
better
hardware,
right? And it's all
then you
time.
don't need SSD cards, then you just have cloud
Right,
gaming. Correct?
exactly.
Yeah, totally.
All
Yep,
right.
absolutely.
Let's wrap up with what are you first of all, are you still playing Crimson Desert? Is it living up to the hype?
Oh, I'm playing it this week. Ask me next week. I am playing it this weekend. I have beaten Pocopia. I'm catching up with. I beat Pocopia on my trip on my way back. At least the storyline. I'm putting that game down. I'm migrating Crimson Desert. I promise to Simon Pullman and everyone else, I will have my very late take on this game after this weekend. I will give it like at least 10 to 20 hours, and I'll come back with a. This is what I think about this game. So ask me next week if it's my game of the year. Right now it's Pocopia, but I will play Crimson Desert and give it a shake. That is
Right.
on my docket, so I will have it done.
Spoiler alert. Do the humans come back in Pocopia?
Kinda.
There's a chance.
They set up the sequel. Let's say that they set up the sequel or the extended universe side.
It's
It's a very touching story. I don't want to ruin it,
No, don't.
but it's your Pokemon are all sad that the humans are gone. They don't understand why they're gone. They also explain like where the Pokemon have been, in very Pokemon fashion. They somehow can live in as digital bits in the cloud, I guess. I don't know.
Makes sense.
Lots of natural disasters hit the world. Mewtwo blames the humans. It's you're like, man, this like it's very Elden Ring like, where and Souls like, where you have to read the paper on the ground to understand the story. They're not telling you the story. You have to just find the items.
Piece it together.
Yeah, to read the story and piece it together. Like, oh, this is kind of what happened, right? So, but again, it's the best game, and I love the internet right now just railing on Pokemon Champions for not being as good as Pocopia because it's set the bar too high for the Pokemon game quality. Just great, funny stuff.
Strong lore, huh?
Look, Pocopia is gonna be nominated for Game of the Year. Mark my words. Throw it back in my face if they're not, but it's gonna be a Game of the Year nominee.
All right, cool. Any other?
No, I'm ask me next week about Crimson Desert. I'll have a take. Other than that, you can find me patch notes published on Fridays, usually, and on LinkedIn, on Substack, etc. And yeah, excited to go into the next stretch of spring games and then going into Summer Game Fest, which will be here before you know it.
Yes, and hopefully we will see each other at some conferences coming up. We'll have some news on that in the next coming weeks. We'll have all this information available on our stuff. Thank you for joining us, everyone.